For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber. Instant analysis of the first day of USC's early signing day period. We just got done with Clay Helton's presser. He said that he's very proud of the staff and what they were able to accomplish. Of course, they were preparing for the Pac-12 championship, the Cotton Bowl, while on the recruiting trail. So he's very proud of them, said that they batted very well today. They ended up with 8 players signing today so far, 4 linebackers, 2 linemen, 1 running back, and 1 DB. So he's pretty proud of what they were able to accomplish today so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think, they're up against it. Staff-wise, they probably, don't compare with maybe some of the other people that are always in the national championship mix. It's a little more difficult in some ways. All the positives about USC not factoring in. It's just longer travel. If you're going to recruit nationally, it's a longer trip from USC. So, and when your time is compressed like that, you're playing the 13th game of the Pac-12 championship, and then you go into the bowl prep work, you do have some, where you got to do 2 things at once. So, but I think Clay even, I think people don't know. Did you do well or didn't you do well? Well, I don't know. It's not over yet.
Yeah.
Early signing period is not over yet. You got a couple of more days. They might get some more in, and then the thing that'll decide this recruiting class is how do they do in February. So it's tempting to maybe look at somebody else and say, as Clay said, they filled their boat. Is that a good thing or not? With some of those guys in February, you want to toss overboard because there's somebody else better available. I think USC's theory is they want to be available to take any of those better guys that show up. And I thought Clay had a couple of really good examples of late recruits who turned out to be really good players for this program. Uchenna Nwosu was a very late recruit, and then Deontay Burnett was even later than that. I still remember he had to come in. He didn't have a scholarship in the summer, and he was coming to workouts, and he wasn't in class yet. And I was telling him, he going up to get to his car in the parking garage, and I said, you could have gone to Washington State. And he said, yeah, on a scholarship right away. But he said, it's going to work out. And he was, convinced it's going to work out. But you have a lot of those situations where you really don't know.
Yeah, and that's what Helton kind of said. It's an interesting predicament this early signing period because you can't judge it right away. He did say that there was some disappointments, and obviously Jackson Carman signed with Clemson, so that was something that USC didn't get today. But how would you evaluate it so far? I know it's not really fair because it's not a full class yet, but so far, what are you looking at? What are you liking? What are you disliking?
Well, I think they've got the best linebacker group in the country. I think you can already say that this 4-man linebacking group, I would be shocked if anybody else has a better linebacking group, and it's not the first time USC's had the Ray Maluga and Clay Matthews and that 4-man group where all 4 of those guys ended up going to the NFL. And I think that was the number one need. If I would have had to say, where do you want to have the most impact with the class and maybe with a couple of guys that can step on the field and play right away, I would have thought linebacker. So they answered that need. How the rest of it works out, I think that is really a good player. The center, and they're going to need a center. So I think they filled that need. I think they decided they really like Step, the running back out of Indianapolis, big, strong, 228-pound kid that kind of fills the need. Also, they don't really have that player in the program either. So I think from those standpoints, pretty good. From the standpoints of no quarterback even exactly rumored or hinted in this group, I think that makes you wonder. I think there's a plan. I think they've got an idea of how that's going to work, but I don't think we know. We also know for sure, and Clay clarified that Chase McGrath, his scholarship is in this. He's in the class of 2018 also, so he won't be on this list. But he's getting a scholarship. He's an initial counter, having come in just last year. So he becomes, in effect, a part of this class because his scholarship number will not be able to be given out in this class.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, though. Clay Helton was asked about that quarterback situation. He said, is it concerning that you don't have a quarterback on this list so far? And he said, as far as quarterback goes, we still have to figure out what Sam does. We'll talk to him in the next coming weeks. But the quarterback position, either this year or next year, it doesn't affect the way we recruit, which is an interesting answer to that type of question.
That sounds like they know what they're going to do. They know who their guy is.
Yeah.
They know how they can do it. They're just not telling us. But he was as definite as you could be about the Sam situation is not going to affect the way they're recruiting quarterbacks right now, or a quarterback. And so I think they absolutely know what's going to happen or what they think's going to happen, whether Sam goes or not, or maybe, if Sam goes, this is what's going to happen. If Sam doesn't go, this is what's going to happen. But it sure sounds like they know what their plan is about quarterbacks. It's just they're not going to tell us.
Mm-hmm. There's still 2 days left to this signing period. Helton was asked, do you foresee anything happening in the next 2 days? And he said, I really don't know. Do you think they have something up their sleeves? Do you think that there could be another signing soon?
Yeah, I think now that people have seen what other schools have done and what USC has done, I could see somebody out there saying, why wait around? I might as well close it off. And if you've taken your visits, maybe there's no real advantage to dragging it out. Now if you have a couple of visits you still want to take, then maybe you don't. But so I could see that there's somebody out there like that, or several somebodies who just decide, you know what, I think the USC is the right place for me. I would be surprised if that wasn't the case. You would hope that you don't have the rest of your recruiting class still undecided in their minds. I would not think that's a good thing.
Yeah. You asked Clay if he had to choose next season whether to have an early signing day again. He said that he would, just because you got early enrollees, 4 of which of this class are going to be early enrollees so far. He said you get to have guys in the mix in January where normally, the interesting thing, though, is that they still could have come in January, even if you don't have this early signing day. So he said that he would like the early signing day for that reason, but is that necessarily the right reason?
He said he would do it, but he would change it. So he didn't exactly say. I said, if you had to keep it or get rid of it, he said, well, I would keep it for the early enrollee kids. He'd let them sign a scholarship, a letter of intent, which means nobody else can recruit them. Technically a kid could come here on those grant and aids that they were signing and could be here for a week and decide to go somewhere else. Or he could commit to being here and go somewhere else once they signed the national letter of intent. So I think he was making the point that the early enrollees ought to be allowed to just sign a national letter of intent. But I don't think he completely endorsed the idea of having the full early signing period. He was, he kind of walked that line of, as Clay will do. He'll say, the positive about it, and then kind of let you fill in the negative.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else from this the first early signing day period?
It's kind of what you expected. It's just sort of, it's out there, but it's not like, those February signing dates have always been like the end of the world. The recruiting, and the websites often crashed, and there was so much interest in everybody. And this is going to change all that. This day is not going to have that, that same impact at all. I don't think we know how this all plays out or how it all factors in, or we sure don't know how it's going to play out for USC. But we know. I think we know they probably need to pick it up between now and February.
So how do you do that? How do you do that with only a short amount of time left?
Well, your next 10 days are pretty much taken up. You do a lot of texting, I guess, and I don't know when the dead period comes in here. I think it's right after, now that I think about it, right after this early signing period. So you do whatever you can, and you hope, and Clay talked about this, you hope the relationships you've already built up with these kids and their families are enough to carry you through on this. And I think Clay's really good at relationship building with families and getting into the home and for the in-home visit. And whether they have any more of those, I don't know what their what their schedule is. They will have they'll have a few weeks, and they'll have 3 weeks in January to bring those people onto campus. So you've got that going for you.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's going to wrap it up from Heritage Hall for USC's early signing day period. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.